So hello, my name is Sean Hickey, and I'm gonna be your therapist for today. Can you tell me what your name is,
My name is Tina Hicks.
and what would you prefer to be called?
Tina.
Well, hi Tina. Thank you for coming in today. I want to lay some ground rules before we start with this particular session, so that we can all be on the same sheet of music. First, I want you to understand that this is a safe place, and everything you tell me is uh, confidential, unless a certain things happen. One is if there's abuse towards a child, the elderly, or handicapped. If one of those occur, then I must report that. You understand that part?
Yes.
And the second part is if you have notions of wanting to harm yourself or others. Of course, if you want to harm yourself, then we want to try to get you some help. And if you want to harm others, then I have a duty to warn the other party that you're thinking about intentionally hurting them. And so I want you to understand that as well. So do you understand that?
Yes.
Besides that, everything else we talk about again is just confidential. And I know you want to get to a point where you want to tell me why you came in today, but I want to kind of talk about some other things as far as how this goes. So the agenda kind of go this way. Each time you come in, we'll have you come in and we'll talk about homework. Sometimes we'll talk about what happened during the last week, and then I'll ask you what's going on or is there anything I need to know. And that's kind of called a mood check. So we'll kind of do that, and then after that, we'll kind of work through the process. So can you tell me exactly kind of why you're here today?
Um, the reason why I'm here today is because I've been having little interest in things. Um, Pretty much all I do is work and come home and go to sleep. And I'm having a hard time focusing at work.
Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention is at times I'll be taking notes, and I don't want you to think that I'm being disrespectful, but in order for me to kind of understand what's going on, I need to make sure that I write down some key things. So if you see me writing down, don't think I'm not paying attention because I still am. But I just want to make sure I understand exactly what you're trying to say. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Mhm.
So you're saying that here in the last, can you remember how long these things have been occurring?
About 2 months ago, my dad died. So it kind of started with that.
Okay, so you're saying 2 months ago when your father passed, and I'm sorry for your loss, that
Thank
you started having these problems where it was hard to focus, you wasn't sleeping well, and you didn't have interest in doing things that you used to do before.
you. Yes.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being low and 10 being high, a great day, prior to your father dying, what was your normal range of how you felt each day?
I would say about an 8.
Okay, about an 8 is a good number.
Mhm.
And then you said since about the last 2 months,
Mhm.
what's been that same range on that same scale?
Um, Probably about a 2.
Oh, okay, a 2. Okay. So one of the goals would be to get that number up. That 2 is really, really low, and it probably tells me that you're probably depressed. And again, depression is something that is treatable, which is good. Um, but also a lot of people suffer with it. And I appreciate you coming in to try to work on that problem. What we do here is called cognitive behavior therapy, and what we try to do is we try to work with changing your thought process as far as how it influences your emotions and your behavior. So when you, as an example, you said that right now you have a loss of interest. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to do some things to where we can change that concept where you will regain some of that thought process of trying to do different things. Um, you said you're sluggish and you're tired, and so we're trying to incorporate some things to get you kind of out of that because most of the time when people are depressed, um, it's a negative aspect to it. And with that negative, it brings everything else down. And again, with the cognitive behavior model, That's what we try to do. We're trying to just change that mind process, trying to change the way you think. And in doing so, we hope to bring this two back up to at least the eight and maybe past the eight. How does that sound?
Mhm. It sounds good.
So again, uh, what we also have to do is we have to set some goals. We have to do some homework because we can't get it all in these 50-minute sessions as far as working on depression. But I think somewhere between 8 to 10 sessions might help you get that number back up from two to at least back to where it was before, which is the eight. But we have to be able to set those goals, and part of that is as I give you homework, I need for you to work on that homework. And one of the homework assignments I want to give you is the automatic thought response. And what this is each time we get a thought in our mind that we focus on, automatic thoughts will pop into your mind. For example, if a person is claustrophobic, then when they get into a situation like an elevator, a negative thought process comes in, and it says that because of that situation, it's going to cause you to be have higher anxiety, and with that higher anxiety, it puts you in a state of panic. Um, what we want to do is, or what we want to do is, curtail that thought process and says that even though you're in that enclosed environment for claustrophobia, just because you're in there, that does not mean the walls are going to collapse. That it just means that you're in there and the door is locked. And if you can think that through, then it would help you. And that's the same with the depression. What we want to try to do is change that thought process of you being down and negative and down on yourself and change it to something that's more positive. Um, so the homework, as far as the automatic thought process, what I need for you to do is when you wake up in the morning, so when you go to bed, when you have those thoughts of I don't want to work, or I don't want to, or I can't sleep, or I can't do none of these different things, then I need for you to make sure that you write them down. And as you write them down, you will ensure that you work through that process and affect that thought and ask if that thought is real or if it's fake or whatever it is. Does that make sense?
So how is that gonna help me with when I go home and get into bed?
Well, what it'll do is you can start asking yourself questions like, okay, what's the purpose of me getting in the bed? And
Okay.
then when you ask yourself that question, you ask another question, okay, why do I need to get in the bed? And as you ask yourself these questions, you start kind of rationally thinking about it. Well, I'm getting into bed because I don't feel good, or I don't have energy. And as you continue to ask yourself different questions, you'll be able to verify whether or not those questions are true or not. For the same example with the claustrophobia, uh, you know, a person who has claustrophobic knows or can know or think reasonably that even though they're in that enclosed space, that it's not going to collapse. Now, sometimes you got to get to that, but it's the negative things that happen to that person that cause them to think automatically without even thinking that, man, if I get into this situation, this negative thing is going to happen. So again, the only way we can kind of reverse that or change that is to put you in situations to where you can think your way through. That's why we call it the cognitive model, because it's all about changing your thought process. Oftentimes, it's not the situation that you're in. It's the things that you perceive the situation to be that causes you to have the anxiety or the depression. So it appears right now you're down because you lost your father, and because y'all were so close, it's hard for you to kind of get through that. Even though depression is part of the process, normally it doesn't last as long.
Okay. So anytime I get ready, when I go home, um, I need to write down what's making me want to get in the bed.
Yes, you need. Yeah, I'm gonna give you the worksheet. The worksheet that has it kind of wrote out to where all you got to do is kind of answer these questions,
Okay.
like why am I getting into bed? What's my thought process of me getting into bed?
Okay.
And is it real or is it not real or those type of things? And then when we come back next week, we'll go over it and we'll work through it and we'll talk about it. We'll go more into detail about depression depression and how to work through depression and why people are depressed. Again, we said before that over 20 million people suffer with this. So again, you're not the only person that's going through it. It's a negative stigma that comes along with being depressed. And part of what we have to do is kind of push through all that and understanding that this is a common problem that people deal with on an everyday basis.
So if this doesn't work, then are you gonna put me on medication?
Well, we'll get to that when time comes. But again, I think this will work. It's been proven to work. Evidence-based practice says it'll work. If you do your part as far as your homework and really put into it, and we work together, continue to collaborate, I really think we can get you up from this 2 closer to 8, and then maybe even closer to 10.
Mm,
So hopefully, well, like I said, when you come back next time, you'll be able to do your homework. We'll work through that process. And again, I want to thank you for coming today, and we'll see you next week.
okay,
Thanks, Tina.
thank you. Now, how long was that?
That was 11 minutes.
You know.